got some free agency rumors to dive into here on Four Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. We're back after a day off yesterday, as you can tell. A little congested. Voice has been a problem, but we'll battle through today. Feeling better today, so appreciate your guys' patience. And we got stuff on Aaron Rodgers. We got stuff on Russell Wilson. Want to hit on some of the signings that have taken place in the past 24 hours or so. So let's go ahead and dive on in. Okay. What is the latest on Rodgers? It appears he is the next big domino to fall. Everybody's waiting. Where is Aaron Rodgers going to end up? And it's kind of fascinating to me that in the year of 2025, Aaron Rodgers can essentially have the power to hold multiple franchises hostage. I think it's hilarious. The latest reports are that he is deciding between the Steelers and the Giants. That coming from Ian Rapoport, with Pittsburgh viewed as the favorite. I'll just say this right out the gate. I'm not going to New York, or staying in New York, but playing for the other team if I'm Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't mean they don't have talent. Doesn't mean there aren't some good players on that team. But when you have a GM and a coach that most people thought should have been fired, were brought back, and then the owner comes out publicly and says, I'm running out of patience. We need to start winning now. What happens? Teams are desperate, and they start making mistakes. And I just don't trust what the Giants are doing right now. So if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I just went to a place in the Jets that needed a lifeline and viewed me as that lifeline. I'm not doing that again. It'd be one thing if that was his only option. But clearly the Steelers want him. I would go to Pittsburgh over New York without even thinking twice. And that's with a defensive head coach in Mike Tomlin, who some would say is caught in his own ways, wants to win these defensive games. I will take my chances with the Steelers organization, with Mike Tomlin, a reputable head coach, over this Joe Shane mess all day, every single day. Not even a question if I am Aaron Rodgers. Okay, this is where things get a little interesting. Dianna Russini. Vikings decision makers are still evaluating their options at quarterback, including the possibility of signing Aaron Rodgers. The four-time MVP is intrigued by the idea of playing in Minnesota. For now, it's a waiting game. Sources tell Mike Silver and me. This is out after Mike Silver put out kind of a cryptic tweet yesterday saying that Kevin O'Connell's voice is the most important when it comes to QB evaluation in that building, and they're having serious conversations right now. So then you have that with Russini. Then you got this from Albert Breer. Minnesota is still discussing where they will go at quarterback in addition to JJ McCarthy in the room. The Vikings made an offer to Daniel Jones that was very competitive with the Indies. Remember, the Colts gave him $14 million, so that's real money. And obviously, if they decide to pursue Aaron Rodgers, he's not saying they will, but if they do, they'd have a great situation to offer him. My immediate take is, does Minnesota have some concerns about JJ McCarthy? Maybe not big picture, but small ones. And I think it would be fair if they did. He missed all of last season with the torn meniscus. In college, he played in a run-heavy offense and was primarily a game manager that in big spots was asked to make some plays, and he did, to his credit. But that was a offensive line run-first offense led by Jim Harbaugh. That was not a J.J. McCarthy engine offense. Does Kevin O'Connell look at this and say, hey, I know it crashed out at the end, but we asked Sam Darnold to do a lot last year. He threw for 35 touchdowns. We were a pass-heavy team. Can we be similar to that type of offense with J.J. McCarthy in his first year as a quarterback? Probably not. That's probably unrealistic. So he might look at this and say, hey, if J.J. isn't quite ready, I may have to go get Aaron Rodgers. Again, I'm not saying they have big picture questions, but to me, there's at least some level of concern in that building to whether or not J.J. McCarthy can kind of just make this a seamless transition from Sam Darnold. Maybe not in 3 years, but right now, it does at least feel like that is a possibility. And if they feel that way, and if they can get Rodgers on a one-year deal, maybe they would consider that. Who do you think he plays for in 2025? Type S for the Steelers, G for the Giants, or V for the Vikings. It'd be funny if it was Minnesota, man. Brett Favre 2.0. Favre even came out and said, hey, go sign with Minnesota. You should do it. I think it'll be the Steelers in the end. I think they'll go that route. But man, oh man, the longer this goes on, the more it makes you wonder if Minnesota enters the fray. Well, speaking of the Giants, and speaking of the other quarterback in free agency that's a starting caliber player, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, and I've had this thought for a while now, like, is he just going to be Aaron Rodgers, you know what, and just let him dictate how his own free agency goes, well, it appeared that that would be the case. Not anymore. He's got 2 visits lined up. We'll tell you with what teams coming up here in just a second. This is why you subscribe to us here at 4Verts. We're bringing you content every single day. Yesterday was an outlier. We were back with the video because free agency is rolling along. Trade rumors are circulating. The draft is next month. This is the time to get in on all of the action. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We got you covered here on 4Verts. Okay, Wilson has 2 visits scheduled. Thursday, tomorrow, with the Cleveland Browns. Interesting. And then Friday with the Giants. And it's long been assumed, just publicly, that wherever Rodgers signs, Pittsburgh or New York, Wilson will go to the other team. And I just want to say, as someone who's never been a big Russell Wilson fan, I respect him for saying, you know what, I'm not going to be second fiddle. Even if deep down we kind of know he is in this situation, he's taking initiative. Hey, Browns, they're interested. I'm going to go take a visit. Giants, even if I'm the number 2 option, I'm going to get into that building and talk to these guys. I'm not just going to sit around and wait and see what Aaron Rodgers does. He's not dictating my future. So I like that Russell Wilson is taking some initiative here, see what the Browns have to offer, and then the Giants, and you start thinking about the timeline. Okay, Giants, Friday. Does that kind of mean a Friday deadline for Aaron Rodgers if he signs with Pittsburgh? Russ is in New York on Friday. If that meeting goes well, maybe he just signs with the Giants. But the Browns do make this interesting because you think about their QB room. It's Deshaun Watson, ruptured his Achilles twice. I don't think he's playing this year, and he's awful anyway. And they just traded for Kenny Pickett. He's not any good. Like, Russ would probably go in there and start right away. And if they promise him the starting job, I think he would consider that. If he opted to sign with Cleveland and kind of just, for lack of a better term, gave the double birds to the Giants and Steelers, like, oh, y'all are going to wait out Rodgers because you think you got me in your back pocket? No, you don't. I'm going to Cleveland. I would respect the hell out of it if he did. Not saying it would be a great situation to go to Cleveland, but I would respect it. The loser of the Rodgers sweepstakes would be in a tough spot, especially Pittsburgh, by the way. If Rodgers surprised us and went to the Giants and Russ is off the board, because I think the Steelers just feel like, oh, Russ is our fallback. What if he went to Cleveland? Guys, the Steelers pick at 21 overall. Like, their path to getting it, Cam Ward is almost non-existent. Even Shedeur Sanders, if he slides a bit, you're going to have to trade up for him in all likelihood. That's a bad situation for the Steelers. It really, really is. You just traded for DK Metcalf. You have to get a quarterback. So if you're Pittsburgh, you may have to press the issue with Rodgers. Like, hey, man, like we need a decision because if we lose Russ, then we're shit out of luck. So I think that situation gets pretty interesting. I think it would be hilarious if Russ met with the Browns Thursday and just signed. Yeah, I'm not going to go visit the Giants. Screw the Steelers. I'm signing with the Browns. I think it would be absolutely hilarious. What team do you think will end up signing Russell Wilson? I think he'll end up in New York. I think the original dominoes that we've all kind of thought over the last couple of days play out. I think it'll be Rodgers to the Steelers and Russ to the Giants. But the Browns being in the mix for Russ, the Vikings maybe trying to pursue Rodgers, gets interesting, man. You got to love the NFL offseason carousel. Okay, want to just go a little rapid fire with some of the recent moves, some ones that came in late last night, and then to where we are now in free agency. Just a little free agency tracker here. D-Rob to the 49ers. Thought he had a pretty good year for the Rams last year. They need receiver help after losing Debo. That's a good one. Kenneth Gainwell goes to Pittsburgh with Najee Harris out, so they got Jalen Warren and Gainwell. Joey Bosa, bit of a surprise. Buffalo jumps in and gives him good money, $12 million guaranteed. We all assumed he'd go to San Francisco to join his brother, but he's going to Buffalo. You see the Lopez deal to Detroit. Mahomes and Chris Jones, they restructured their contracts, so frees up some money for Kansas City. Larry Ogunjobi, another defensive lineman. Buffalo trying to add some volume to that front because that pass rush hasn't been good enough in recent years. Miami re-signs Tyrell Dodson. Van Jefferson goes to Tennessee as they add a speedster. Justin Strand ends up in Denver. Buffalo brings back DeMar Hamlin. He was a starter last year. We'll see if that's the case again or if they try to upgrade maybe in the draft. Trey Brown to the 49ers. Greg Gaines, veteran D-tack, sticking around in Tampa. Blake Hance, a guard, goes to Tennessee. They add another guard later. We'll get to that. Mike Ford to Atlanta. Derek Forrest in Buffalo. No major signings there. Marquez Valdez-Scantling's an interesting one. He finished last year pretty strong in New Orleans, had a strong second half of the season. Seattle adds a big body speed guy on the outside. I think it's like a number 3 type. I like that fit. They need a number either a number 1 for JSN as a 2 or a number 2 next to JSN. Maybe they go draft for that, so we'll have to wait and see. Get another weapon for Sam Darnold. A couple of Chargers signings there. Rashad Weaver with the Jets. The Commanders are bringing back Marcus Mariota, really respected in that building, played well last year in limited snaps when Jaden Daniels was a little banged up. They get their backup back. Kyer Elam, Dallas made a couple of kind of late-round pick swap trades. They go get Elam from Buffalo. Eddie Goldman to Washington as well. Jack Sanborn, as you get to the next bunch here, leaves Chicago, goes to Dallas to follow Matt Eberflus. Nothing else really standing out for me on this one. How about this? Evan Ingram gets a nice contract from Sean Payton. 2 years, $23 million, $16.5 guaranteed. A little joker type of player, can do some different things for the Broncos. Kadero Hodge back in Atlanta. The Lions re-sign a couple of players, or re-sign Onwuzurike. Probably mispronounced that. Grant Stewart in there as well. Let's see on this next chunk. Nothing really stands out here. Trying to hit on the ones that I care about. DeMarcus Lawrence, how about this one? He's played in Dallas for about 10 years. He leaves, goes to Seattle. 3 years, $42 million. Only 18 guaranteed. He's coming off that injury, so he'll have to prove he can stay healthy in year 1. But 2 years ago, he was still very, very good. One of the best run defending edges in the league. Good pass rusher as well. So Seattle adds veteran presence. Denzel Perriman back to the Chargers. There's the second trade for Dallas. They add another linebacker, Kenneth Murray, in a late-round draft trade. Khalil Herbert goes to Indy, likely to be Jonathan Taylor's backup. Kevin Zeitler, like that move for Tennessee. They get a veteran presence on their offensive line. Good guard still. He's older, but can be a leader type and help stabilize that room. Not really sure I get it for him. I would have thought he would have gone to a contender, but that's not the case. A couple of small Jets signings. Benjamin St. Juste leaves Washington, goes to the Chargers. Washington replaces him with Jonathan Jones. A.J. Dillon, you would assume, is a Kenneth Gainwell replacement for Philadelphia, as the former Packers running back lands with the Philadelphia Eagles as we get to the next chunk here on that one. Josh Myers, Packers center, signs with the Jets. College teammates with Justin Fields, so an interesting connection there. Craig Reynolds back in Detroit. And then the most recent ones, L.J. Collier to the Cardinals. Then Rico Dowdle, kind of a sneaky signing. The Panthers cut Miles Sanders. To me, they upgrade here. Dowdle rushed for over 1,000 yards with Dallas last year. He will be their number 2 back behind Chuba Hubbard. That is where things sit in NFL free agency. We're all on Aaron Rodgers' watch, except for Russell Wilson. He's making his own moves. Got to respect it. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you soon.